Welcome to the Feel Better, Be Better show. Today, Kate and Nevada will answer your questions and introduce new topics designed to help feel better and be better. These are raw conversations, but they will make a difference.
All right, so we're going to go over myths or things we've learned, or
I'd say things we learned.
things that are just like I'm a complete idiot about. Like, you know, I don't know if I ever told you that I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to go super healthy. I'm going to eat, you know, like granola bars and oatmeal. For some reason, I don't know why, but for some reason my bowels didn't like that much. I don't know what the deal is. I'm sure we'll get into, you know, stuff like that. Or the time I was like, ooh, I'm going to be really healthy. I'm going to do nothing but like juice.
Yeah. Juice cleanse.
Sure. It wasn't really that. It was just I was like, I'm going to get my vegetables through liquid form.
Sure.
That makes no sense. I'm going to get my fruits through liquid form.
Sure.
Yeah. All that stuff.
Always a good time.
Okay, all right, so I don't know, do you have like a specific part you want to get into, or you want to go, or you got like something you want to start with?
I mean, I think the biggest thing to start, hopefully takes us into a topic here, is just that the more that I've gotten certifications and education within the health field, yes, but the more that I've done healthier things for my body and myself, the more I've learned, like, there's not one formula to really do it. There's certain things that are better to avoid and certain things that are better to eat, but you really have to figure out what's right for your body, and you really have to figure out how that fits into your lifestyle and really troubleshoot through that. There's not just one, there's this diet out here and this is awesome and it'll work for everybody. And it might in the short term, but realistically, it doesn't long term for people unless you figure out what works for you.
Well, I mean, we had that before with like, I remember when it was like the Atkins craze, and like everybody was Atkins and everything like that, and it was just like, well, that's how you do it to be able to lose weight. Or you got the, you know, the no carb or the low fat or the what, I mean, carnivore. I mean, there's just, you can go on for days on all the different diets that are possible out there. Vegetarian, all that good stuff, vegan, whatever.
Yeah.
What's
crazy about those is, one, the main setup is the fact that you're eating less of processed food, which is huge. And you're eating more whole foods, which is huge. It's just different how it's set up. But
I think every person that ever gets on those, it's always like, well, I lost like 10 pounds immediately. It's like, well, yeah, you changed your diet.
Yeah.
Oh, you got into whole foods.
Yeah.
I mean, but they've kind of proven that the body will adjust.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, yeah, you may have lost great weight and toned down when you went on a vegetarian diet, but you've been on it for 6 months now and you haven't seen anything happen for 5 months.
Yeah.
Because your body has been like, okay, if this is the way it's going to be, we're going to do this.
Yeah. Well, and all those diets have holes in them. There's not a single one that isn't missing something. If you're vegan or vegetarian, you're missing very important nutrients from animal protein. It's really hard to supplement that unless you try very hard to do so. I mean, you don't get B12 at all. I
cannot believe you're going that way.
I know. But then at the same time, if you're going to go with like paleo that's like anti-carb, I mean, if you're doing any kind of working out, especially cardio-wise, that's really hard on your body too. So none of them are perfect.
Well, the funny thing about it is, I mean, in certain circumstances, you may need to get the effects that you would get from paleo if you are a very large individual, and you need to lose a lot of weight. You're going to have to break down some of that muscle, which is in a way what paleo in a way kind of does. I mean, it makes your body get into where it's burning those dense type calories and stuff like that.
Well, if you eat enough protein, you minimize the muscle loss compared to the fat loss.
Yeah. But I mean, if you're going to really see, eventually you're going to lose on that fat loss, and you're going to have to get into if you're going to want to continue to see results, you're going to start burning some of those muscles, which is where it gets really damaging on the body, which is also what in carnivore and Atkins and some of those other ones. I mean, you're pulling out the stuff that the body burns, your carbs and your whatever else. You would know better than me. I mean, but those are the things you're pulling out. You're pulling out the things
usually your carbs and your fat, sugar, stuff like that.
Yeah, which is usually what the body burns when you're doing workouts and stuff, right? So it's making it eat up the ones that you had stored, which is why you would lose weight from it initially until the body gets used to it, because now it's going like, whoa, where's all that, the fast food and the sugars and the cakes and all that stuff and everything and then it adjusts and you'll see less gains.
Yeah. Well, there's also something to be said for this. We can go down this tunnel to extremes. This is not necessarily where I'm mean for the conversation to really get into the nitty gritty about, but you look at a lot of problems with restrictive diets, it's very much your body adapting to it, is the fact that you're taking out so much calories for your body, and for a while that's fine, but then your body enters starvation mode and it holds on to everything. Your body's really good at surviving and making sure you don't lose too much. And sometimes those cues, like even though you have enough to still lose more, sometimes those cues don't resonate like they should. And so it adjusts. So there's stuff to be said for changing up your diet as far as how much you're eating, you know, carb cycling, where maybe you're eating more on certain days and less, and more exercise and less on certain days, to keep your body kind of guessing where you're at. I mean,
you don't want to get efficient.
Same with what nutrition you're putting in your body. You have to kind of vary it up.
Yeah, which is kind of what we do. I mean, somebody can totally look at our recipes and be like, well, that's not healthy this, or that's not healthy that, or whatever. But I mean, we do our best to really kind of shake it up sometimes.
Yeah, and sometimes it's okay to have in moderation some of that stuff that adds a little extra flavor or comfort to food, especially if, you know, like we had a new book where we were looking at recipes that were vegetarian. And we wanted to add some that were non-meat options on our site. And they were good recipes, but I think we did like 3 weeks in a row where we had a vegetarian option and then a meat option. And I could feel it in my body that I did not have enough protein consistently, that I was like, okay, we need to go back to 2 meat meals for me personally, because I knew my body needed more.
Well, I know I was losing a little junk in my trunk, and I can't have that happen. I mean, I got to make sure we keep that.
I know, all the girls, they're not going to know what to do.
Yeah. Whatever would they do with themselves? Well, no, you mentioned it though on like restrictive diet. That kind of reminds me back even when I was younger, I didn't even know a clue of what I was talking about. But I mean, I remember telling people, I'm like, don't try to look at what you need to take away, because all the bacteria and the enzymes will fight against you on that one. Not to mention your own brain on that one.
Yeah, you're trying to defeat a million cravings because your body's like, no, I'm used to having this and I want it.
Well, I don't think people realize that, how much like all the bacteria and all the enzymes in your body, they're the ones sending the signals of what you're craving. So when you're sitting there going like, oh, I'm low on blood sugar, what you're really going is that you have a bacteria in your body that's going, I really need sugar on a regular basis. So it's going, hey, cookie, oh, there's cake in the break room. Hey, you can go get a Twinkie in your desk drawer.
Donuts for breakfast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, and it's basically, it knows that it gets that from there, and it's sending the cue to your brain to be able to say, I need this to be able to survive. You need to go get this. That's low blood sugar. So you got to almost get smarter than your own body in order to really break that. And I've always kind of been more on the addition diet.
Yeah. Well, there's also easily missed cues for certain nutrients your body needs to be like sugar. Like, for example, I know when I'm low on magnesium because I crave chocolate. Crazy craving for chocolate. And it has nothing to do, it doesn't fix anything. It doesn't make, like, it makes the craving go away for a little bit, but it makes me still want it. But if I add foods that are rich in magnesium in my body, I don't have that anymore. Crazy how that happens.
Well, just like for me today, I mean, I was really struggling. We've been really hitting it hard for a couple weeks here, and all I craved was sugar. I mean, it was just like sodas, this, cookies, that, you know, crackers here and there. I mean, and that's all I wanted.
Yours possibly could be down the road of sleep too.
Well, no, that's totally what it was. Mine is that, I mean, we talked about, I think I sent you a message this morning. I'm like, I'm total trash today. I'm like, my body is aching. I'm tired. I can just sleep all day. And what a shocker. I craved all that stuff. I don't normally crave that kind of stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I didn't even feel good until I had that kind of stuff. And I mean, it's just amazing how much those cues in our body will basically make us, that's just how I'm feeling. Well, you gotta find a way to trick your own body, trick your own mind, trick your own cravings.
Yeah. But anyway, go with your addition to the diet.
Oh, okay.
Just completely taking us
on
a whole different route here.
You're fine. I kind of appreciate it. So I always so even back then, I even told people, I'm like, add in something that you want to eat. So, I mean, obviously, most of us in the U.S. here or whatever, we don't get enough fruits and vegetables, mainly vegetables in particular, because fruits were more of like your sugar thing. But of course, now it's not even like close to a good sugar source. But anyway, and we don't need any more sugar in our diet whatsoever. But so I would usually try to focus on like a vegetable, and it's usually pretty easy to go to like the grocery store and get like one of the cut up fresh vegetables, usually like a broccoli, cauliflower, or something like that, or whatever, and just say, hey, I'm going to eat like this portion size, you know, whatever, before I eat anything else in my meal. And in our minds, we're not taking anything away. we're adding to. But we're adding something that we should eat, right? Well, the next thing you know, you don't eat as much of the bad stuff because you're more full. You know, it may end up causing a different craving, like especially if you get something like a broccoli or something like that, your body will probably crave a little bit more water to help process it through. And then you'll end up drinking a little more water and getting broccoli when you have less of like, you know, quarter pounder.
Yeah.
And French fries.
Yeah.
And the next thing you know, you start kind of losing weight and you start changing your body makeup a little. You start changing what your body craves. And I've known people that have literally gone down that road and all of a sudden they were just like, next thing you know, they were like, dude, I want celery. Dude, I want, you know, carrots or whatever. And it's amazing how much you flip over that bacteria, you flip over those enzymes in your body, and all of a sudden they start saying they want stuff. And you start eating that and you just totally change up your whole diet. And all you did was add broccoli.
Yeah. I mean, it's very perceptive. That's very much a thing we learned in all my nutrition courses too, was adding stuff versus taking away. One, for the mental aspect of if you can't have it, that's all you're going to think about wanting to have. But
I would never be like that.
I know, right? And then two, the whole concept of, they usually talk about it within drinks because it's really easy that people drink way too many sugary drinks and they're just empty calories that add on to everything you're having for the day. But instead of telling people, don't drink soda, it's like, okay, let's add X amount of water in during the day. And then it becomes a lot harder to drink all the other drinks on top of it. So it's like a way to trick your body. But it's amazing how, like you said, when you start going down that path, not only craving wise, but your body's like, okay, now I want to move a little bit more. Now I want to do this. It's like you've gone down that healthy train and you're making small adjustments, and then your body just naturally kind of makes more.
I don't think we plan on doing this whatsoever, but that was kind of the things I always said. I was like, right after you wake up, hammer a glass of water. You'll have no problem doing it. That first one or two, it may be a little rough, but after that, you will be like, I need a bigger cup. Because you don't realize, I mean, but think about it. You've been in bed for most people 8 hours. For me, like 4, and I'm super dehydrated.
Yeah.
But anyway, and so you need water.
Well, it's a great tool too. Our friends at Miracle Morning, they suggest drinking water right away with brushing your teeth because it wakes you up.
Yeah. Well, but the other thing it does is that it kickstarts that hydration thing in your body. And it's really weird because, I mean, I was a person that didn't drink any water. I mean, it was Gatorade or soda or, you know, something. It was a flavor, whatever the heck. But as soon as I started saying, I'm going to drink a glass of water every morning, because I can't remember which show I listened to that talked about how you're most dehydrated in the morning. And I was like, and they suggested doing a glass of water. I was like, I'm going to give it a try. And it was just like immediately, the rest of the day, I was like, you know what? I want a water. And I never said that before. And that helps getting that going. Then you get into this stuff where, I mean, like, we don't really have many drinks. It's either water or sugary substance. That's like all we got. Unless you have, you know.
You have tea, black coffee, but most people tend to go towards the sugary.
Well, if anybody drinks coffee like me, I mean, I might as well drink a soda. I think sodas literally have less sugar than the way I drink coffee. But I don't like coffee.
The 1 cup a year.
Yeah, I love the smell, hate the taste. Weird. I don't even know how that works out, but I don't know. I don't fight it. Tea, I don't mind. I just never really go for it. It's like, if we want to say, like, hey, let's have a cup of tea, I'll sit down and have a cup of tea, but I'm never gonna be like, ooh, I want a cup of tea. It's just not how I am. But anyway, it's just the other thing that we started adding in was that element. That's really helped me a lot because, I mean, it's a very water heavy drink. It's getting your electrolytes that we need, your magnesium, my potassium that I know I need. It's got all that in there, and so if I drink that, but it's not like just water. So a lot of times it's hilarious. I'll be like, a couple swigs of element, a couple swigs of water. It's like I'm literally kind of hitting both sides, but it's what I'm craving. It's not, I'm like, oh, I gotta make sure I do that. It's just like, oh, I'm ready for that now. And I still have sodas because I have that bacteria that really likes that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, stumped you, huh?
No. Like, all right, where are we going now with this conversation?
Where you want to head now?
Well, I think the whole thing, when we originally were going to talk about it, is just kind of getting into knowing all this stuff is like a backdrop. And like, I think another big one is, you know, reading your hunger cues. If you can eat slower, make sure your meal's over 20 minutes so you can really feel when you're satisfied versus full is huge too for a lot of people. But I mean, outside of knowing the basic information, that's really important.
But in that piece, I mean, they talk a lot about, not having the TV on,
Yes, you have to be very mindful.
not on your phone.
Yes.
I mean, I can have everybody screaming like, what else am I supposed to do? Like actually talk to the other person in there? I mean,
or just eat in silence. Eating in silence is very peaceful.
that's just what lonely people say.
Don't mess with my introversion.
There we go.
It makes me happy.
Yeah, there we
I
go.
once went to Village Inn by myself and just had a very quiet, peaceful meal. It was awesome.
Actually, I do that on a regular basis.
I
I
know.
can't really dog you too hard, but those type things. And then the last one I think we've added in here recently, which I know I definitely feel a difference, and we're not the best at it. We're trying to get better, but doing a 10-minute walk after you eat too. I mean, I definitely have felt a huge difference when I do that.
Yeah.
It just helps your everything digest down. You help make the gravity work for you and kind of loosen stuff up. Supposedly, I'm sure there's some like technical things in there, but I'm going with non-technicals.
Perfect.
Yeah.
No, I mean, all that's good. I think the biggest suggestion I can offer people is, start small. Something you're 90% confident with. If it's like, hey, I'm going to add a serving of vegetables at lunch Monday through Friday and go from there. Something you think you can do and then build off there, because it will build and you will see results even if it's small stuff. But the thing I really wanted to get into is there's so much, we've hit on a little bit the different diets and stuff like that, but there's so much you have to learn for your own body too. I mean, we're in a society where we like to demonize certain foods and then say they're okay, and then demonize them and say they're okay.
What are you talking about? Eggs?
Butter, I'm looking at you. Eggs, I'm looking at you.
Yeah, no kidding. Egg yolk in
Egg
particular.
yolks. Oh man, the worst.
But
But
I'm sorry. Excuse me, because they are yummy.
the worst of being demonized.
There we go. Now we're talking.
But no, I mean, so we're in the society where it's constantly saying, oh no, this is the best food for you. This is the best diet for you to do. And really it boils down to what are you going to stick with and what feels the best for your body. Like I said, me personally, I can't go no carb. People cannot be out there and they can scream at me and tell me it's fine. I understand ketosis and how all that works and everything like that. But my body does not function well because I just do too much physical activity if I don't have a moderate portion of carbs in there. I'm not talking crazy amount like we have. I definitely have to cut down compared to like if you went to a restaurant and ordered. It's too carb heavy for sure.
Well, I think one of the biggest things they kind of go on the typical American diet when they talk about those type things, it really depends on what you're doing. Because right now, the typical American diet is you're eating out every meal. If you're eating out every meal, you are definitely going to have too much salt in your diet, way too many carbs, tons and tons and tons of the
refined carbs too, not even good quality.
Yeah, and and basically, so you're going to have, that's why they talk about it, everybody needs to cut those out of their diet. But the problem is if you're actually doing meal preps, and then when you're not, you're actually kind of cooking meals, you're going to be low on salt. You're going to probably need some carbs. You're going to need those other things because you're not getting the same that the people that are living out of McDonald's are.
Yeah, and I don't mean that as we never go out and eat, because that is not a true statement either. But eat out far less than most people. But yeah, for me, if I'm not including, a little bit of potatoes, a little bit of quinoa, a little bit of rice here and there, or pasta or whatever within my meal, if it's just protein and vegetables, I struggle. I know myself and I struggle with it. Like I've got to have a little bit of something extra to keep me full and give me energy throughout the day. And that's something that I've learned. Something else that I've learned, I was never a big vegetable fan growing up. Didn't happen until the cafeteria burned down my junior year of college, and it was forced to eat the only things that were edible, which were green beans in our cafeteria, that I started liking vegetables. So I know, interesting story. I hated green beans before then.
Interesting. It's really wild. I've actually liked vegetables from what I understand, like most of my life. Like even when I was a kid, I ate them up.
See, I would not touch anything, especially if it was cooked. My mom would put out a vegetable tray of raw vegetables, and I would eat all the carrots and radishes and stuff off of there, but I would not eat cooked vegetables.
I said, let's make sure we get this straight, though. My mom was notorious for cooking them in a vat of butter with cheese on them, which was awesome.
Eating them.
Well, I mean, yeah, they tasted good, though. I mean, the butter and cheese, shocker.
Yeah, but I mean, as I got older, the more I've made myself include them in my diet, I've found ones that I'm like, oh, those aren't too bad, and then eventually I like them, and then eventually I crave them. And I mean,
well, we've done crazy stuff with our recipes where we just start putting them in.
Yeah,
and we've added them in. We're that recipe had no call for that, but we were like, you know what, you wouldn't even catch it, drop a vegetable in, and boom, you got it, and you don't even notice it.
Yeah, and I know that the weeks that I am off schedule and I don't have vegetables in my diet, I can definitely feel a difference because you're not getting the nutrients from them.
Yeah.
So those are two main areas that like I see a huge difference. I'm pretty good at drinking water, so that's not a problem for me because I just don't drink a lot of other stuff. But yeah, what about you? What have you encountered?
Oh God. Well, I
You
had
have time?
yeah. I mean, I wasn't educated as much as you on that kind of stuff. I kind of had to find my own way. But I think the biggest one I just ran into is you're just not going to be able to get it by going with the diet stuff. You're not going to be able to go the low fat stuff in the store. Anything that's like put together, you're just not going to get there. It's literally built to not really process well for you.
Well, and here's the thing. Low fat just means they added more sugar. Low sugar means they probably added more fat because they got to make it taste good, so they got to add one or the other in.
You know, well, I mean, but there's plenty of scenarios where they talk about we need to have more fat in our diet too. So I mean, it's again, I think you got to keep it mixed up all the time. But I think some of the biggest things, like we kind of talked about. I mean, I there for a while. I was like, I want to get more fruits and vegetables in, so I went with juice. Well, juice is like 100% sugar water. I mean, it's just not good for you. And what a shocker! My bowels did not like that whatsoever. I definitely didn't feel any better. If anything, I was probably getting overloaded on the sugars really bad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a horrible soda drinker. I drink way too many of them on a regular basis. Now, luckily, I kind of burn a lot of that kind of stuff because I'm a very active individual, so I don't really totally get all the negatives on that one. But I've quit soda before, and I'm just like, I need to quit it again. Mm-hmm. Let's see here. I had the whole thing where I was eating the oatmeals for a while for the fiber and that kind of stuff to help that stuff out, but that's, to me, that was one of the biggest ones that drove me crazy. Is like every doctor I went to was like I'd have whatever that word is, on where my bowels were struggling really bad. I mean, they did a
irritable bowel.
Yeah, well, they told me I had irritable bowel, which was great because I mean, I was like, okay, what do I got to do? And they're like, well, you got to find a diet that works for you. And I'm like, okay, do you have like some recommendations? I don't know. You just need to find what works for you. And I'm like, thanks.
Yeah, doctors are kind of underserved in their education on nutrition and exercise, unfortunately.
Well, I had bowel problems all the way, for a long, long time. I mean, they did a colonoscopy. I mean, I think I was 32, and the doc came back and he was just like, you had an extremely spastic colon. And ever since we started doing the meal prep stuff that we've been doing, I've really had very little issues. Mm-hmm. I mean, almost to the point where it's like, I don't even know what to do with myself, kind of. I mean, I still get it occasionally because I'll go eat crappy food. It tastes really good on my lips. And then, but next thing I know, I mean, what a shocker, my stomach's upset. Mm-hmm. And, you can put that together real quick. And that's where people get really, like, kind of crazy where other people are like, nah, I don't want pizza. And they're like, oh, yeah, you're such a health nut. It's like, I don't want to feel like that.
Well, it's crazy that when you kind of take it out of your diet and then you add it back in, you're like, did I feel this crappy all the time when I ate it and just didn't notice because I ate it all the time? Like, oh my God, it hits you hard.
Yeah, you feel it more.
Yeah.
I what was that? That was Whole30, I think, is where they talked about that in particular, where if you actually follow that diet, which is a straight elimination diet, so they basically put nothing but super whole foods on you that aren't going to bother you.
Well, they take a lot of whole foods out that could irritate a lot of people too.
Well, no, but
it's
I mean,
very restrictive.
They take you down to the basics where you're not going to it's not like you're going to go to McDonald's and get a bag of rice or something like that. I mean, they're going to make it, you're going to be down to your cooking. It is full whole foods. These are ones that don't mess with anybody, and you'll be fine. Then you start putting stuff in and you can really start feeling the effects. Mm-hmm. Or if you happen to be out of the country or maybe visiting family or something like that, and then all of a sudden you come back, you may really feel it when you come back to that kind of crappy food, what it can do to you.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, the fiber one was the one that probably drove me the most crazy because that's what they always told me. And you get more fiber in my diet. So, I mean, you buy this stuff at the store or whatever that's like, oh, it's high fiber and everything
cereal
like that.
With all your fiber for the day.
Oh, no.
Mini wheats. Fiber.
I totally did it because, I mean, that's what they told me I needed more fiber or whatever. So I totally did that. And, of course, rough times in the bathroom for me. But anyway, the part I learned later on, and this was on another show and everything, but that's not water soluble fiber. And the whole basis of this whole fiber thing was they found a tribe wherever it was in part of the world that they had like no problems with their gastroenterology. I can't say, I don't even know why I try to say the word, but anyway, and what they found is they ate this fruit there that was high in fiber, and they were just like, oh, see, fiber helps make sure that you basically you don't have any problems with your intestines on processing food, and that's where they came up with a high fiber diet. Unfortunately, most of the fibers that we use here in the U.S. are not water soluble, so they basically get in there and cause and wreak havoc on your bowel system. So all those high fiber things you're eating probably making it worse.
Yeah.
And I definitely found that out.
Yeah. I do want to go back to the fat thing too, because I forgot to mention that one. That one's another huge thing. I know, this last year especially, we've added in a lot more as far as like egg yolks, olive oil. I even get like certain nuts and seeds for snacks and stuff. Because I mean, we talked about it. I bruise really easy and really bad, and they stay forever. But eat fats, it helps out with that.
You haven't been as bad this year.
I know. I kind of must have taken a little bit of turn because I got a few bruises right now that don't seem to want to go away.
Well, I know I can't remember what show I listened to, and they talked about how we need to add more fat, and you were talking about your bruise. I'm like, yeah, you probably need to have more fat in your diet. And you looked at me like I was like an alien, and I was kind of joking, but you kind of went like, it wouldn't hurt. And then you tried it, and next thing you know, you weren't bruising as bad. It's just wild what the body will do.
I did a little research on it too, and helps liver function and all that jazz. But I mean, it helps your brain with mental clarity too. The omega-3s and better for you fats are supposed to really be helpful, especially in keeping away dementia.
Well, that's the one that I think has been one of the craziest ones.
Mm-hmm.
The egg yolk things totally made sense, right? That's what your LDLs and when you look at LDLs in our bodies tend to, if you have heart problems, they tend to be high in LDLs, and you have problems with that. Egg yolk has a lot of LDLs in there, right? It makes perfect sense. Don't eat the egg yolks, right? The only problem they ran into is that the more they restricted them from, even with people that had LDL issues, their LDL would actually go up. And nobody really did the study. For the longest time, they're just like, well, there's a ton of LDL in eggs. Don't eat egg yolks, and just be done with it. Well, when they actually looked at it and did the study, the LDLs actually, if you're eating them, your body's like, I'm getting plenty of them, so it releases them.
Mm-hmm.
So it lets them go. Whereas if you're not eating them, then it says, oh, hey, I got to hang on to every single one of them. It kind of kicks into overdrive, and boom, you have heart problems because it's building up in your heart. So it's kind of weird how it makes logical sense to cut that out, but the logical decision was actually the illogical decision on the way our bodies actually operate.
Yeah. But the crazy thing is, with all that information that's out there now, and especially with all the Alzheimer's studies going on and stuff, and they're starting to see that it is a nutritional component to it.
Well, everybody in the medical community now is calling it diabetes 3.
Yeah, but I mean, even with all that information, you still have so much fat-free food in the grocery stores, and you still have so many doctors preaching that you should be fat-free. I mean, my ex, before we broke up, he went to the doctor and his cholesterol was a little high, and he told him, no egg yolks, no avocados, stuff like that. And like, no, that's good for you. Don't take that out. Like, I mean,
it's like the exact opposite.
Yes,
thing
he's
to do.
the doctor, so you don't want to just not listen to your doctor. But at the same time, he was giving him medical information from like the 50s, and I'm like, yeah, can we update this a little bit?
No, they laminated the brochure. You can't change it.
Yeah, so
Well, it's just crazy the things that if you get down to where you're actually doing a mix it up diet like we kind of are doing, trying our best to sneak in like ways to get certain things out of there, like substituting olive oil or ghee for butter when we can.
Mm-hmm.
Although
butter's not bad.
We really like our butter though too. So
but I mean, in all honesty, it's not the worst of all the things you can have. It's
No.
like middle of the road.
Yeah, we also we really do like the taste of olive oil, so that helps.
I do like the taste of olive oil.
Sneaking in some vegetables here and there. I mean, we're really bad about substituting out certain things just to be able to put them in there to get a little extra natural fats, to get a little extra, trying to think of what else, nuts and seeds and stuff. I mean, proteins in there that we can, because we want that kind of stuff. So we're literally usually adding to recipes than we are like pulling from recipes. But all of that just in an effort to try to get a way more balanced diet. And then we try to mix it up. We're constantly like adding in the vegetarian meals, adding in this, trying to keep our bodies guessing on a regular basis.
Yeah, and some weeks like this week our meals are pretty bulky. Like chili is pretty bulky.
Yeah, but it tastes so good.
It does, but I mean that's the thing is some weeks we're kind of bulky with our meals, and some meals are kind of lighter and more refreshing, and switch it up each week.
Yeah, it's whatever we feel like.
Whenever we feel it.
Mm-hmm. Trying to think anything more on the dietary side, I mean, we could go on forever.
I could go on forever, but I think as far as me personally, I think those are the main keys that I've found. And so, I mean, there's like for me, my body doesn't do well with dairy. So I've talked about the certain things that it does do really well with. But I know for me, or sugar and dairy is like a no. And so, yeah, people are always like, oh, well, you just don't want cheese or sugar because you're so healthy. I'm like, it kills me. Like, I do not function well. My brain is all foggy. I feel gross. I've got like a 3-day hangover after eating a significant amount of either one of those. So why do I want to put my body through that, you know? So it's more of an issue of that. But like, so I know for me, staying away from dairy is a good thing. Now, some people, they like having the protein from cheese and it doesn't bother them. So that's great. But you got to figure out what works for your body.
I think the longer I'm going, I think the sugar is a problem for me in particular. Because, I mean, it's just like, and it's funny because I say that. It's going to be a
hard one for you because you got a sweet tooth.
I do. Which is again, that's probably, like I said, the bacteria trying to reinforce that. Like, hey, can I get a donut here? You know, or whatever. But I think I've started to notice it way more as we eat more meals. Like when I go get pizza, which I love pizza, and it starts, now it's kind of destroying me a little bit. I'm just like, that one's really high in sugar. You don't realize how high in like the sugars that is because, I mean, it doesn't taste sweet.
Well, yeah, I mean, any sauces, you buy any sauce from the store, it's got a ton of sugar in it. Guaranteed.
Well, and the bread too.
Bread breaks down into sugar. Cheese, because of the lactose, breaks down into sugar.
Yep.
I mean, it's all sugar.
Yeah, and then
and grease. Sugar and grease.
Yeah, I really do feel when I eat out. When I kind of go through the fast food points. I mean, I can really, now I've kind of got to the point where I really feel it.
Yeah.
Where it really starts. Now I'm kind of mad at it.
And what sucks is you're like, oh, you know, I haven't had this in a while and it sounds so good, and then you go get it and it doesn't taste good and it makes you feel bad and you're like, why did I even try?
Pretty much.
Which is a good problem to have. Just disappointing in the moment.
Other than that, the biggest thing for me, I've got to keep finding more whole foods to try to. I'm actually kind of in that mode right now where I'm trying to probably find a way to put more protein in my diet because I am still having a hard time filling up.
You get you more solid snacks.
Yes, I need to. That's the one I need. I need more in between meals. I'm just too active. I gotta put some more stuff in there. Luckily, my stomach is.
You have a high metabolism and you're a guy anyway, so that doesn't help. Those all are factors against you.
Yeah, but I'm extremely active though. I mean, I got my standing desk and I should sit down more than I do. And then somebody keeps making me run to different softball games every single night of the week.
I don't know who that would be.
I have no idea who that would be. And then, weekends we're farmers markets, we're doing that. So, I mean, I'm just up, moving, lifting, changing stuff on such a regular basis. And I mean, add in the fact that we work out and do stuff like that. And you try to eat healthy and it's just like, man, I'll get filled up over the meal that we have. But then 2 hours later, I'm like, all right, where's meal 2? Where's meal 3? You know, I mean, I'm almost to the point where I'm like, I almost got to create another person I'm making meals for. I have a whole backpack full of meals I take to work every day.
Yeah. And I think that's important to note too. I mean, for anybody, you should want to feel better and move towards a better spot. But as an athlete, I think you notice it more because how you feel and how you do is important.
Yeah.
So even though we're not in the competitive world anymore, like it's still important to not feel like crap when we go play sports or go coach sports or go work out, you know, catch a workout, go for a walk.
Yeah.
That's all I got on nutrition right now.
I completely agree. So if you guys have any other nutrition facts, just let us know.
You disagree? Want to tell me why I'm being done with my diet stuff?
You should disagree. I mean, everybody, there's a flip side on every single one of these.
There is. You can make a counter argument on anything with nutrition.
Yep. So, have a good one.
Thank you for watching Kate in Nevada. Hope you've enjoyed this show and found it useful and empowering. If you have any questions or comments, please contact them at Knetix.com. That's KNETICX.com. They're on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok as well. And please write a review of the show. Kate in Nevada appreciate hearing the feedback, and they welcome your reviews, and your word of mouth will help others learn how to feel better and be better.